Rob Zombie's The Munsters came out today on Netflix and on physical. I bought the physical just because I here's the thing. This review is not biased, and what I mean by that, I think you're gonna get a lot of reviewers who are like, I don't really give a shit about Rob Zombie movies, ready to trash this film because the trailer looked horrible, the movie didn't look great, and they don't really want to give this movie a chance. And I think that's unfair. Um, and I went in with an open mind because I'm a fan of Rob Zombie. Not a big one. Well, I would say more than most, I guess, but most people aren't fans, so that's not really saying much. Anyways, I went in with an open mind to this movie. Went in, watched it, and I thought, okay, well, let's give this a shot. My Blu-ray copy actually showed up a day early. Popped it in last night before I went to bed. And this film, here's the thing. There's a couple of misconceptions going around about this movie. First of all, there's this story that was going around that Rob Zombie was given $5 million or however millions to make this movie. He even came out in an interview and said, no, that was not true. I forget how much he said he was given, but he said, I don't even know if he said how much he was given, but he basically said that the budget was really low. And if you know what studio this is coming from, so a lot of people are like, this is Universal? Well, this is not Universal, like the major film company, because otherwise it's probably go to theaters. This is a direct-to-video label Universal has, where they make direct-to-video sequels to their big movies. So basically, they're responsible for like the Scorpion King sequels and stuff, and things like that. So that's kind of what this is a direct-to-video Munsters movie directed by Rob Zombie, which inherently is not a bad thing because Rob Zombie has been a fan of the Munsters for years. For example, his song Dracula is based on the Munsters car, which was named Dracula. So yeah, so he's been a fan. He's been writing music. He's been making references. He's a fan of this kind of stuff. So so that first trailer where they recreated the opening, you're like, okay. And even though the first trailer was bad, it might have been just a case of poor editing. But no, it was not. This movie is not as bad as that trailer made it look. It's, I think it's still bad, but there's an attempt here worth appreciating, which is that Rob Zombie was trying to recreate the style and feel of the show. That's what he was trying to do. He didn't do a good job at it, but he was attempting, and I think the attempt is worth appreciating. I think the biggest problem is this movie is too goofy in ways that the show never was, and the characterization doesn't feel like characterization for the Munsters at times. Herman is pretty much himself, making his corny little jokes and stuff. Lily, I mean, she didn't really have a character, so she might actually have more character in this movie. It's really Grandpa. Now, this is a prequel, so there's no, like, the kid and the other girl. I forget her name. Um, but it does mean that you do have this awkward part of this movie where this movie is very like awkward with Grandpa because Grandpa's really not a great character in this movie. He wants his daughter married off. Constantly he's making fun of her husband and kind of douchey the whole movie for really no reason. And that was a really irritating part of this movie. I didn't like him in this movie. It's also weird. Sherry Moon was terrible as Lily, but Herman, the actor, I think tried, but he wasn't great. Al, the guy recreating Grandpa, did a good job actually recreating Al Lewis's performance, but because his writing was so bad, it just ruined the whole thing. No one was doing a great job here. I think there were definitely tries, but again, I that's one thing I want to appreciate. I don't want to just like rip this movie into shreds. I'm like, they tried. The lighting in this movie is kind of cool, like the atmosphere, and I did like the appreciate the references to older horror movies with like Nosferatu and stuff. That was fun. But yeah, this movie is just, a lot of people are gonna be trashing this movie, and I get why. The makeup is cool. The actual like CGI work and like those kind of special effects are dog shit, but the like actual makeup is pretty cool. Just this, just I appreciate the attempt here to recreate something. It just didn't work, and this movie was too long. It's an hour and 50 minutes. It feels like 3 hours because it's so poorly paced. But I also would have just accepted an hour and a half movie. But instead, we get a almost 2 hour Munsters movie, which is longer than the Munsters movie that went to theaters and was a sequel to the series. And it was unpleasant to watch, and not because it was just boring. Like you didn't really want to keep watching it, and that was just the worst part about this movie. It just kind of is there. It's not even so bad it's worth really making fun of. Really. I think people are over hating this movie without even giving him a fair chance. And that's a little sad to me because Rob Zombie is not really given the credit he deserves as a director. He's not great at what he does, but he is great at some things and needs to be given credit for those some things. He gave us a very different take on Halloween that you can really hate or not like, but it is a different take at least. And I just think there's too much hate for the man. And I wanted to come out here and be like, no, we all misunderstood this film. It was good, but that was never going to happen. This movie wasn't great, and that's sad. For me, who wanted a good Munsters movie, being a fan of the show, and being a fan of Rob Zombie, here we are.